What's up, everyone? My name is Thomas Noah, and I'm the founder and owner of 3G System Fitness. And I'm here to introduce you a program that I've been working on for many years now, and it's called My Fitness Journey. So what is My Fitness Journey? So My Fitness Journey is a platform to tell story. It's an educational platform. It's a platform for others to tell their story, their challenges, their success when it comes to their wellness, their fitness, and how they were able to overcome certain goals or achieve a certain level of success. And My Fitness Journey is the concept, the idea that my journey is different than yours. It's the idea that, that my path to success is not gonna be as, consistent as yours. It's not gonna be the same as yours. We can eat the same thing, we can do the same exact activities, but we're gonna get different results. And there are different factors involved, whether it's anatomically how you were built, or a diet, or even a mindset. Another thing that people don't really think about, a mindset, right? It goes into why one person gets one result versus the other. So that's why we're here to educate people on why this is extremely important, to get people to rethink what it means to be fit. So why My Fitness Journey? Once again, My Fitness Journey is the idea, the goal is to educate people. So why My Fitness Journey is for you to understand that my journey is never gonna be the same as yours, and it's okay, right? It's okay. You have a different experience, you have a different mindset, and some of us need to change our mindset to continuously get results. And that's why we're here, to educate people that it's okay, wherever you are in your journey, right? It's okay. It's okay to learn from others, and that's exactly why this platform exists. It's a platform to allow others to see, what it takes to get there, to experience it, to also get to a place where, you could have that realization that, like, I'm not alone, I'm not weird after all, if anything, and I'm not so different after all. There's somebody else who's going through this exact experience or have gone through this experience, and I can relate to them. And now it also gives you a resource or reference to reach out to someone and say, hey, I heard your story, and I wanted to ask you or follow up on some specific things about how were you able to do it, right? What made you, keep on going when the challenges were always there, So it gives you a reference to reach out to, and it gives you that realization that we're all humans. It humanizes people, because what social media has also done now is it puts people on this pedestal, or it sets unrealistic expectations of what it means to be fit. And our goal is to eliminate that, is to really humanize people, so you, the audience, can understand that it's a grind, it's a consistency, right? Anybody can achieve certain goals. You just have to personalize it. You just have to use that information, that person, as a reference, keyword reference, right? Take notes, but then apply it to your story, to your journey, because once again, your results are going to be different than that person. What inspired me to do this, and why does it matter to me? I'm passionate. As you can hear my voice, this is what I'm passionate about. And once again, I think, unfortunately, social media is a great platform. It's a great platform to easily access information, to visually, to follow people, to see people's stories, to see their journey, but they don't do a great job at the in-between. That journey process, of how you got there, that story is never told. And that's a problem, because it sets unrealistic expectation where you're viewing somebody and trying to replicate exactly what they're doing, thinking you're gonna get the same exact results because they're in here basically taking a picture in the mirror and presenting themselves a certain way, and you're thinking that if I do exactly this, I'm gonna achieve the exact results. And the fact is, it's not true, and it sets people up for disappointment. People become depressed, and increases in the people's level of anxiety. When they realize that they're not getting the same result. It's so much false information out there, and my goal is to be able to really, like I said, humanize people and get people to understand this journey is a very personalized approach, right? And there's so many factors that will lead to success, but other factors that will also not lead to success. And a huge part of that is the mindset, is the mental game, right? And this is why we're here, to constantly ask our audience, why? Because we want to tap into the psychology of how were they able to achieve certain goals, and also tap into the question that no one ever really talks about. Social media doesn't do well at doing it, is the struggle. The challenges. It's not always easy. I don't always wake up and want to work out, and just go at 100%. No, physically I'm not. Sometimes you're exhausted at times, right? And there's certain challenges just come, right? But no one ever tells that story. And our goal is to really highlight that so people can see, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense because I'm going through that right now. Or, once you're at that point, you're like, perfect. I was listening to this person's story and they said exactly just this, and this is what I'm going through, so that's why we're starting this platform once again, to really just educate people and get you to understand that you're not alone. Right, so what inspired me to keep doing this? It's a lifestyle. That's really the best way. One thing I'm passionate about is helping people set the right goals for themselves, the realistic goals for themselves. So a lot of the times when people start talking, I stop them and take a step back. Think about what you're saying and think about how that's going to lead to success, right? Or you might be thinking something else, but you meant to say something else. So one, I try to help people understand their goals and setting the right goals. I want to lose 20 pounds, but then what? So you lose that 20 pounds. Now what? Right? And sometimes it's the how they lose the weight that sets them up for defeat. Because there's so many different fads, diets, and different quick fix systems out there that people are selling to you all the time. And you're like, okay, let's do it. And then you get locked into it. Most of the time you don't see results because it's not personalized to you. And then the other time is you do it at such an unhealthy rate. And then you get to that point of losing the 20 pounds and you don't know how you even got there. Now, there's another part of it, is the maintenance part. You got to maintain the result, but you haven't been educated to maintain the results. So how are you actually going to do that? A lot of the times, guess what? People gain the 20 pounds, sometimes plus more. And so that's the problem. And that's why my goal, the company 3G, our vision is to create a lifestyle change, right? It is fitness for busy people, but it is to create the ultimate goal is to create a lifestyle change. And so the action, the in-betweens, the actionable steps helps people create that lifestyle change. So for me, why I'm inspired to do it every day, it's not easy, but the ultimate goal for me is it's a lifestyle. I don't have any I'm going to lose 5 pounds tomorrow type goals, right? My goal is I want to wake up every day and feel great. I want to wake up every day and feel energized and have the energy to start to continue to do what I do. Right? And so not having I want to lose 5 pounds on this day and this and this day, it helps me just keep everything at a healthy rate and not setting unrealistic expectations where I'm discouraged because I'm not achieving this crazy goal that I thought I could achieve in the first place. It's a lifestyle, whether it's through fitness, whether it's to nutrition, diet, it's a lifestyle. I wake up every day and I want to look my best and feel my best and educate people to be their best. What is the hope for my fitness journey? The hope is, once again, it's reference, to have a realistic, to be able to relate to somebody, right? To one, recognize that your story is different than mine, my story is different than yours, my journey is different than yours, right? But recognize that, the first thing, and then realize that you are not alone. What you're experiencing currently, someone else have experienced it, right? And they are now on the other side where they've learned, they've grown, and now they're living that as a lifestyle. So it now gives you a reference to say, hey, I saw your story and it inspired me to do this. Now, how can I get better at what I'm doing? You know, it gives you a chance to follow up on this person's story, but it also gives, it's the educational piece to be able to follow up however way you like, but then once again realize that this journey, this is a process. This is not a quick fix system. You know, this is not something that's just gonna, you snap your finger and you get results, right? It's difficult, it's challenging, but it's persistency, right? You gotta stay consistent, you gotta stay persistent, right? You gotta continuously fight that battle, those demons, right? And really master your mind. It's the mindset piece. The reason why I keep going every day is because I do not make excuses for myself. I do not pity myself. Yes, we all have those days. You recognize, you know, the down days, but don't live in that for too long, you know, because there is an ultimate goal that needs to be achieved, you know, and so that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this, to give you a healthy platform to be able to use the tools, the resources, and then kill it in your journey. All right, so here it is, right? Episode 1 of my fitness journey. Guess what, who we're talking about? My fitness journey, okay? This is why we're here. This is why we're here to launch it first, to give you a sense of what this is gonna be like, what the experience is gonna be like as an audience, and how, you know, how I'm gonna interact with my guests to highlight certain aspect of their story and ask them the whys, right? The why. And so starting with me, once again, my name is Thomas Noah and I'm the owner of 3G System Fitness. So going back to the beginning, I was born in Liberia. It's a tiny little country in West Africa. And Liberia experienced a civil war for about 20 years, just about as long as I lived there. And I experienced everything and just about anything having to do with civil war. So fortunately, my mother, being the champ that she is, found a way here. And so in 2003, we immigrated into the US. And my life began, you know, as an American, as an Liberian American. And my life really, my fitness journey really started that summer when I was introduced to the Ron Burton Training Village. And so what is the Ron Burton Training Village, most of you ask? The Ron Burton Training Village, long story short, it's a program that allows that, it's a leadership program that really, it builds young men of all kind, of all ages, of different color, different backgrounds, different, you know, demographics. It builds you into a leader and focuses on fitness, the spiritual, it's mind, body, and spirit approach. So just a little bit about the camp. So on a day-to-day basis, we wake up 4:30 in the morning and we run 7 miles 5 days a week, and we're tested every Friday. And we're tested because the goal is to set a goal to achieve. So you train for a week and you have a chance of checking back in with your body and your mind to see how you've grown over that 5 weeks program. And let's just say it's one of the toughest training programs you could ever go through. the course is the toughest 7-mile course you will ever experience. But one thing that I actually took away from this program is it's the lifestyle, the culture, the structure, the discipline that is achieved through this program. What actually happens during the program is the camp every summer has a really good relationship with the Naval Academy and West Point Academy. So every summer they would send representatives to come to the camp and really run the camp. They host the camp, they facilitate the camp, and they train with us, which, sleep in the same area, they train with us, they set the expectations. And that's where I started to really to learn the disciplines, leadership. And I think a lot of people now look at me, and I get this all the time. They say, you have a very, they ask me if I'm military or say I have a very military-like mindset and just way of life, and just the way I carry myself and structure my life. Yes, because that's where it all started. You live with these guys, they set the expectations, we win as a team, we get punished as a team, right? It's that mindset. You sleep as a huddle of maybe 10 to 15 guys, you are set, you sleep in the same bunk area. So in the morning, you make your bed together or you clean together, you make sure your area is clean, and that there are rewards that come with the unity as a team, as a huddle, and there are challenges or punishment that comes with lacking that level of just engagement with your team and be on the same page and being a team player. And so that's some of the things that I learned through the program. But one thing that really was a major part of my life is the physical aspect of it. So of course, at the age of 10 to 18, you're running 7 miles a day. And that's just the starting of your day. That's just the start. You're doing obstacle courses, you're doing relay races, you're doing clinics for specific sports that you play. It's a very healthy, competitive environment, and the biggest takeaway is the mindset. With all that activity every day, you're expected to wake up the next day and do it all over again and again and again. What does that teach you? It really teaches you to master your mind, to be mentally tough, physically tough, but more so mentally tough, and be emotionally and spiritually tough as well. So that's really what the fitness journey, my journey, started through the program, through the Ron Burton Training Village, when I was introduced to the program in 2003. And one thing that the Burton program also introduced me is, of course, long distance running. So I went through the camp for 12 plus years as a camper. And then about a few more years after that as a counselor. So over 15, 16 years. So long distance running became second nature to me. And so as a result, actually, funny story, I ran my first marathon in 8th grade. You're probably wondering, how is that even possible? Well, naturally, because of the level of training we did, like I said, long distance running became second nature. So the specific story to that. So my mentor / one of the counselors or the brothers of the Burton family, he ran every summer to raise money for the camp. He ran every year for the Boston Marathon on behalf of the camp. He ran the Boston Marathon on behalf of the camp. And what he would do for the guys who live locally, he would have us staggered on different parts of the marathon, different of the route, the marathon route. And so each guy has about 3-4 miles to run, and then it's almost like a relay. You kind of pass them off to the next group, and the next group pass them off, and we're there to just motivate him, to get him water, to just help him use the least amount of energy as possible. So me living in Framingham, the marathon starts in Hopkinton. I had the very first route. So for me, it was about 6-7 miles, whereas everybody had 3 to 4 miles. So, but I loved it. First of all, it's all downhills, so it was very easy for me. But the first time I did my first marathon, I got to Framingham. I'm like, man, this is amazing. Like, I feel so energized. This is so exciting. I'm getting motivated by all, just the energy is amazing. It's just out of body. And I got to Framingham. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna keep going because I'm feeling this. Halfway into the marathon, I'm like, well, I'm kind of halfway in now. It would be really, like with all this crowd, like it would suck to kind of have to go against the grain and walk back home. So I'm just gonna finish it. So that's how I finished my first marathon, literally, like not having to train for it. Just wanted to finish on the other side. So I struggled through just about 6 hours was my first marathon time. And over the years, before I graduated high school, I ran a total of 4 marathons. And the rest were, I think, 4 marathons. And the longest I ran total was 18 miles. I've long then beat that record. In 2019, last year, I ran the Las Vegas Marathon at 4 hours and 19 minutes nonstop. So all 26.2 miles nonstop. That's my record so far. But anyways, just kind of going back a little bit. So 4 marathons before high school. But what that fitness journey looked like in high school, I started more so on the educational side in high school. I was introduced to, I think at the time it was a pilot program. It was like a health and fitness class that was first launched. I think this was my junior or senior, may have been my junior year. And I remember, so it really was a class that taught you how to work out, how to do, it educated you to work out properly, correct form, but also it educated you to educate others on how to properly work out. And really that's when personal training was born for me. And that's when I started learning about what it means to be a personal trainer, how to help people correct forms and all these things, and really working out at a high level. And but as an athlete in high school, I played football all 4 years of high school, but I was a better wrestler than I was a football player, and I wrestled for 2 years. That's definitely one of my biggest regrets, is not starting earlier. And the funny thing is, even the reason sometimes we don't start something, which is ridiculous, my biggest regret, simply because of the uniforms. Like, I thought I was too cool. I was too cool for the uniform. I looked at it, I'm like, I'm not wearing that. Like, no way. I was so worried about what I look like. And not realizing it's like, this is something I was going to be really good at. This is something that could have potentially taken me to college, on the full ride. Thank God for the Burton camp. I still went to school on the full ride, but I could have wrestled at a Division I college if I hadn't been so young and stupid, young-minded. But let's just say, I had 2 years of experience in high school, junior and senior year, and I capitalized on it. I worked my butt off that first year, and this summer, off season is really where it's all done. If you want to become a good athlete, a good wrestler specifically, you do it in off season. The work is done in off season. So that summer, I remember just picking up on tournaments whenever I could. I think I got about 50 wrestling matches just that summer, and it clearly showed. The results showed my senior year. Selected a captain's choice by the other captains that the year before me, and that was special to me because leadership is very important to me. I've always enjoyed just helping people become better at what they do, and so that was a great experience for me. Senior year, I maximized. I did the best I could for the 2 years I had. I came second as a sectional placer. I placed in states, and I really think if I had an extra year, I could have become a state champion, or I would have had a chance at becoming a state champion. But life happens. As kids, we tend to be immature, especially as boys, and the silliest things will divert us from really what we're meant to do, but that's a lesson for me, and more of the reason why I embrace who I am now as a man, and also even emotionally being in tune with that, and being vulnerable, because I think these are the lessons that I learned from just being like, trying to be like everybody else and missing out on opportunities. And I'm like, no, never again, So, but yeah, so that's really what that journey looked like in high school. Football and wrestling was really my life. It kept me structured. It gave me something to look forward to every day. It kept me out of trouble. And then college came around. I went to Stonehill College, on the full ride, thanks to the Burton program. And that's something I also worked my butt off for, because academically I'm not academically gifted, I'm not naturally smart. And I also didn't have the confidence then either. So that didn't help. But college came, I worked my butt off and got the scholarship and went to Stonehill College. One of the best things that could have happened to me. But really, as an athlete, I wasn't playing at a varsity level, but one of the reasons is I also did not want to be a varsity athlete in college. If I had started wrestling earlier, 100% would have done that, but I did not want to play football in college because I was very focused on, I really wanted the well-rounded experience. And I think one of the things that I learned before college was that, being a college athlete, it's like a full-time job. You really don't have time to do other things, things like study abroad, something that I did. And it really just kind of set me up for where I am today. So I wouldn't have had those experiences if I had played varsity sports in college. So I, focus on leadership experiences instead. And so varsity-wise, didn't really do anything. But I did play intramural sports, occasionally basketball, and flag football. Enjoyed flag football. Played that a lot in college. And I started a wrestling club as well, but unfortunately, I went abroad, and unfortunately, the coach at the time got let go. So the leadership-wise, we didn't really have it on campus to keep the program going. So unfortunately, the program just kind of died out while I was abroad, which was kind of sad. But but that was a good experience. And so didn't really do much in college as an athlete. I did try to work, of course. So what else am I gonna do? And when I had the time, I worked out, but not as intentionally, as I do now. But just try to stay in shape. And ran occasionally, but didn't really do much. But because time too is so time consuming, that I did not, I wanted to go back into long distance running. Always caught up with the marathons and stuff, and I always enjoyed watching it and just going back to that experience, that high of what it was like, but didn't really have the time to do it. So fast forward, I graduated in 2015. Shout out to the class of 2015. And when I graduated, I'm like, I went a couple years, didn't really think about long distance running. And then 2018 comes around. But at the same time, I was still trying to be active, because now you're not really in school, you're only working full time, and you're not really an athlete anymore. Now it's like what to do, right? So I stayed active. I stayed active as much as I could. I was probably running more at this time, but nothing like a marathon or anything like that. And then it's funny how the power of women. I actually recently read this book called A Women's Influence. And I think people underestimate how powerful women are, and how women tend to really kind of change our perspective and redirect sometimes, because we want to impress them most of the time, to be honest. Let's be real, right? We want to impress them most of the time, so we will literally drop everything and go. But I'm bringing that up because I met this girl at the time. So I started something really different, something new in 2018. I don't know what it was that just kind of clicked, and I thought I need to start to get away more. I need to start writing down my goals, first of all. And I need to get away and reflect on those goals. So I started that in 2018, and the first destination was DC. So I went to DC, just took a couple days, got in an Airbnb, and just did some day trips. And on every day trip, every commute, I would just listen to music. Just wanted time to reflect and just be to myself. And I would use that time to write down my goals and kind of think about what the year is going to look like. 3G was in the process of development at this time, and kind of really thinking where it would go from here. I think at that just about the same time I was wrapping up with my master's. So there was a lot going on, and I really needed more time to get away and really kind of think. And during that time, I met this girl, German girl. She was interning in DC, and not sure even how I met her, but we came across each other, and I ended up hanging out with her for like 3 or 4 days, and becoming friends with her. I'm actually still friends with her because she's now back in Germany. That internship ended and she went back. But she was the reason why I'm now running marathons today. Why? Because she in a conversation, she's like, oh, I have this half marathon coming up in March. This was in January at the time. I was like, oh, marathon, huh? She's like, yeah, I'm running a half marathon. I'm training for it right now. I'm like, huh? Maybe I'll come back and and run with you. So, of course, so I signed up right then, and one, it gave me a reason to come back to DC because I love DC. DC is my favorite city in the U.S. Why? Because I'm not a big city guy. I'm not a city boy. I love DC because you still get that like big town feel, Not too many skyscrapers, not too much. It's not crazy. It's not a cluster F. It's just very spread out. It's big, and I just love that piece of DC. And so I wanted a reason to go back anyway. So I came back here and I started training. At the time, I was working for this medical device company, really traveling a lot at the time. Anyways, traveling globally. And I remember that training process for the marathon, the half, was just all over the place. Like I barely had time anyway, so I actually didn't train too well for it. I remember even training in Sweden. That was fun. I remember just going from. I love doing these adventure runs. So if I'm traveling in a new place where I don't know where I am, I literally just put on a backpack, get my charger, whatever it is that I need for the day, just put it in my bag and just go. I literally just go, get lost all day, and then work my way back. I call this my adventure run. So I remember doing that, loved it. The problem is on the train, because I was working so much, I didn't have time. Went back to DC, oh my gosh, I got my butt kicked during that marathon. Man, I was so bad. I was so bad. I completely underestimated it, how challenging. I'm like, I ran 4 marathons before. Like, how hard can it be? Yeah, I got my butt kicked. It was exhausting. It was not even fun. Like a mile, like 6, 7, I was like, my body was just down and out. I was done. I'm like, man, this is not fun anymore. And I had another like 5, 6 more miles to go. I'm like, oh, this is not good. But that was a lesson learned. I really kind of started taking it seriously from there on. But it was a great experience. That kind of kicked so many things in the gear, because after that run, I had set a goal of, like 2 halves that year. I ended up running 4 halves, like 5 or 6 10Ks, and like maybe 5 or 6, this 10K, 10K, and then there's this, what's the 6 mile, what's the 6 mile mark? The 10K is 6 miles, and 5K, yeah, Jesus Christ. 3.2 miles, I think it's a 5K, and then the 10K is 6 miles. I don't know why I just forgot that. So by the end of 2018, I had surpassed all my goals, the halves, 10Ks, 5K, and I thought, why keep running halves, So I wanted to step it up a little bit more, and I thought, you know what? At the end of that year, I set a new goal for myself, and my thought was, for the next 10 years, until I start having kids and start settling down and family and all that stuff, I'm gonna use marathons as a means to travel the world and to keep an adventure out. And by the end of the 10 years, I would have, really kind of accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish, and I can really start to focus on other things now, So my goal was to do 2 marathons a year for the next 10 years. That was the goal for 2019. Of course, now we're in 2020 and COVID happened. So that goal did not, everything went to a halt in 2020. But 2019 was that year when I started on everything. And so my first marathon I did, went back to DC once again, love DC. And I did my first DC marathon, banged it out, did well. It was extremely tough. Oh man, I almost forgot what it was like. That hellish feeling, but at the same time, just the high from just running in front of how many thousands of people and running with how many thousands of people. It's just the energy level. It's just on a different level. But DC Marathon was hard. Oh man, I don't know what it is with DC. I just always get my butt kicked in DC, and I think I just underprepared. For example, I started great. I had to go up 4 hours, and I really could have done faster in DC. But the problem is I went too fast up when I first started. The first half, I blew through that thing. And the second half just, it's like I hit a wall and my body was down and out. Everyone who I was basically passing in that first half just kept running circles around me. And I'm like, man, what a humbling experience. I learned so much about it's like when people talk about having respect for the game. You're doing something that is really deadly. People die from get heart attack and injured and get taken off stretchers. And so you really had to respect it for what it is and be overly prepared, be overly trained. And I was still taking it for granted. And I felt it. And it was not fun, because that's the thing. It takes away from the fun, right? The experience of it all. And it was not fun, but I did finish. And that's the biggest thing. I think had about I want to say 4:45. Yeah, I think that's when I finished. Slower than my fastest from that point on, which was 4:28. But it was a lesson learned. Couple months later, towards the end of 2019, I ran the Vegas Marathon. One of the best, funniest experience of my life. Just wild. Went to Vegas. First of all, I've been in Vegas before. It was for work. So the experience was completely different. I went back, this time I really wanted to take the full experience. So I got race bands and the Rock and Roll Marathon. They do such a great job at hosting events. They do an amazing job at hosting events and just because you have people coming in from all over the world, and everyone is new to this environment, and so they do really well at just setting different events, even concerts just for runners and dinners and VIP passes. And so I got a wristband that took me to a VIP party where this kind of like I can't really think right now of the name. Bruno Mars band. What's his band? But anyways, it was a Bruno Mars cover up. Went to this VIP party that had this cover band, and they had a buffet. I enjoyed that night. That was amazing. And I was there by myself. They didn't know anyone, and it was a freaking blast. So that was a cool experience. I also had a wristband that took me into every club for free, and just got me into anything for free. It was an amazing experience. But of course, you are there for a reason, so you can't get too carried away. And that's the beauty of travel, right? It's a very intentional way of traveling, because you do want to have fun and explore and get involved and immerse, just experience and get connected with the locals and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you are there for a reason. You are there for a specific goal, and up to some people have been training for a year now. So at the end of the day, there is the ultimate goal, which is you're there to run a marathon. So it really dictates in a positive way, actually, how you spend that time. So, so I was there for about 4 days, had a great time, and explored. And at the end of the fourth day, I believe this was a Sunday. Yeah, it was a Sunday. and on the day of the marathon. The crazy thing is, the marathon was later on in the day. This was a marathon. I started at like 4:30 in the afternoon. I never experienced such a thing. Most marathons start in the morning. So the trick is, how do I eat? How much time do I give myself? Like, what do I do? What do I do with myself? Knowing that I'm about to pretty much kill myself in like 5 hours. It's like the Last Supper type of thing, you know, and making sure that Last Supper isn't the Last Supper that is running your stomach for 26 miles straight and you're having to run to the bathroom because every 2 seconds because you ate the wrong supper, you know, type of situation. So it was just so much. It's a weird experience, but it was an amazing learning experience. But I got through it, and one of the best things happened to me during that marathon. I met, you know, my current Instagram tag is called the African Goggins, right? I met the real Goggins during the marathon, during the Vegas marathon, which is one of the best experiences of my life. Crazy thing is, I haven't been following Goggins for that long, David Goggins for that long. A friend introduced me to him about a year before, so I started following him, his Instagram, and just his mindset, the grind, right, his experiences. So I just really started being so fascinated by him. Let's just say this was between like May 15, 16, doing a marathon. I'm coming in, you take a lot of loops. There's only so many places you can go in Vegas. So I'm coming in, he's going the other way, about to turn and obviously pass me because he's a crazy runner. And I see this bald-headed guy, he never has a shirt on, so you know, right? Bald-headed, no shirt on, Goggins, okay? So he's passing me and I'm like, it registered, is that Goggins? And then I yell out, Goggins! And then he puts his face up like this, right? And I'm like, no way. So I end up, of course, taking my phone out on my Snapchat and waiting for him. Literally, I was probably a half a marathon ahead of this guy. And I slowed down and waited. If I didn't slow down, he would have passed me anyway. So let's be clear. But I waited for him and I had my phone on this whole entire time. You know, and imagine the amount of energy that was actually burning from just holding my phone. Like, so I was actually getting tired doing that, but this was an opportunity of a lifetime, and I probably have a 10-second window the second he comes by me, and that's it. So I had my phone on. Every time it shut off, I put my password in, I kept it on, and then boom, he goes and passed me. I'm like, Goggins! And I ran and I catch up to him. And so I had my phone up, and I started talking to him. Hey, what's up, Goggins? How you doing, man? I introduced myself, and I asked him, hey, can I do a quick interview with you? He said, yeah, sure. I was like, yes! Best thing that could have happened to me. So I have the video now, and it's probably one of the sickest soundbite you will ever see. And I know someday when I'm on a big stage somewhere on like a health and fitness expo, this is gonna be like part of like my anything. I'm gonna incorporate it into anything I do. So I'm like, yeah, can I interview you real quick? He's like, yeah. And I remember asking him, I'm like, what advice will you give me right now? And he goes, don't stop effing running. I was like, let's go! I was so hyped. Like the time that I needed that the most is when that message came. And that message is so much deeper than people will ever understand. I actually wrote something about this, and I said, like, at the time, at that second, that message to me was God. That's how deep it was. Because one, he had no idea that my goals were, for this particular race, I had two goals: to either beat 4 hours or run it nonstop. I didn't end up beating 4 hours because it was a challenging run. I was really dehydrated. It's a desert, it's a flat run, but it was a really tough run. But when I knew timing-wise I wasn't gonna beat that time, I kind of deferred to doing it nonstop. And so the fact that not knowing what my goals were and his message to me was don't stop effing running, man, that just ended me up. And I had the soundbite, I had the video to prove it. He's clearly in the video. I'm so freaking excited. I can't wait to incorporate it into everything I do someday. So that was really like the highlight of my Vegas marathon experience with meeting David Goggins, and soon after that, I decided to change my Instagram tag to The African Goggins, because there's so much to that. It's not about really taking his name and his identity, but also I set the goal for myself to embody what it means to be a Goggins. Right? It's the character, right? It's the integrity, it's the physical, mental, spiritual, and physical toughness, right? That he has. It's me accepting, like, this is the life for me. This is that lifestyle that I talked about earlier. This is how I'm gonna live my life, that no matter what happened today, it's not gonna impact my tomorrow. And that's the Goggins way. And so that's really why I took that name of the African Goggins. The one thing I wanted to really dive into this podcast as a marathon runner, is the mindset. It's the challenges that comes with it. And in the context of my fitness journey, one thing I want to recognize is I'm not your average runner. I'm not your average runner or long distance runner. I'm not your average marathon runner. I, on an average day, weigh between 180 to 190, 195 pounds, and I'm muscular. So what comes with that is a lot of muscles, right? Muscular. And what that means is muscles contract. And what that means is it increases my level of, injury if I'm not taking care of myself well, if I'm not stretching, right? If I'm not incorporating things like yoga, if I'm not doing more mobility, flexibility type training, I will likely to tighten up faster than the average person, And of course, what comes with the weight, the pounds, it's exactly it. It's weight. It's pressure on your joints. You're carrying on more weight on doing something that is very strenuous, that's very demanding on the body. And with the extra weight, it doesn't help. So actually, my doctor, when I started running, my doctor recommended that I dropped 15 or 20 pounds if I want to start doing marathons. And I did, right? But of course, I had to still keep it going. I had to still find other creative ways to stay light and stay mobile. And so that's when I started getting to yoga as well, which I mean, for whatever reason there is, culturally, it's just men equals no yoga. I don't know why that is. Yoga is women is supposed to be yoga, men can't do. No, the number one athletes in the world, the best of the best, will tell you how yoga or incorporating yoga into their training help them become a better athlete. So that's one thing to be clear, to educate people on, okay? Do yoga, all right? Especially with aging. That means, the older we get, everything gets tighter, everything gets broken down. One way to maintain that is doing something like yoga. Anyways, so that's just kind of for me in my process of training, how I was able to incorporate these different things to change the way I was training, to take a more functional approach, because I'm a cross trainer. I'm not your average marathon runner, so I'm not gonna stay here and run 100 miles a week. I can't do that. I probably shouldn't do that because I'm gonna get hurt, So I try to take a cross-training approach to do a lot of different things. Of course, do my strength training, and within that strength training is core, mobility, flexibility training, and then incorporating yoga, really kind of slowing down and just taking a, really intentional approach, but also rehab, kind of thinking recovery, doing all the right things to help me bounce back faster, especially if you're having to run 15 to 20 miles in trainings and you need to wake up and do it the next day. Your recovery is extremely important, and that's one thing I wanted to share is what that journey looks like and what my regimen looked like. And I think one thing that's extremely important, I already mentioned, is the mindset piece, right? Now you've set goals, right? And you have managed to stay consistent with that goal through your training and push the pace every week, every month, and you're here. Race day. At this point, there's no way back. And I remember, so many times I asked myself, why am I here doing this once again? And it's just, it comes to a point, every marathon runner would tell you, even the professionals are doing 2 hours. Physically, it's impossible. It comes to a point where your body shuts down. Most people talk about that wall that hits you between the 18 or 20 mile range. That's when it doesn't matter what kind of training you've done, your body physically says, this is it. This is my limit. I can't do it anymore. And then what takes over is the heart. It's the mind, it's the spirituality, it's that special thing that just kind of push you to the finish line. Because at this point, your body is just like, I'm done. Like I remember the first couple of times that I went to go stretch, I ended up pulling something while I was stretching. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm just not gonna touch that. I'm just gonna keep running and just keep fighting through it and struggling through it. Because it's really that level. Like at this point, you experience every single muscle like interaction, every movement. You literally feel your muscles working in your body. That's how insane it is. So just stretching one thing, you end up pulling another thing. So really the physicals are done. And what it comes down to, it's here. It's that mental piece. It's that ability to be mentally tough. And so many times I think I pray harder than I do ever during my marathon runs. Like, just God, please just take me through this and I'll never do this again. Like, please help me. I need every energy and I can, and every positivity that I can get to get through this right now. And so that's the major piece that I think a lot of people don't understand is physically you can only do so much, but it's the mental piece, it's the spirituality side of it that really kind of gets people to that finish line. And I know every major athlete, Olympians and professional athletes, they will tell you the same thing, that at some point your body is just like, I'm done, right? And what takes over is your ability, your will to fight, right? It's that piece that really kind of, it's the reason why we wake up every morning. It's your why. The why is what takes you to the finish line, And so to answer the question once again of why do I do this? How do I do this every day? It's the why. And the why has to be a long-term goal than just a fixed, I'm gonna lose 5-10 pounds. The why has to be much bigger than that. Because on those days when you're just not motivated, you physically can't do it, your why is what keeps you waking up in the morning and just getting it done every day. So that's where I'm gonna end with my story. I'm sure you guys will have a lot of questions for me. Feel free to reach out to me at 3gsystemfitness.com. We are on every social media platform, and I will answer any questions you have, where you are in your journey. And how can you overcome certain challenges? What kind of mindset do you need? How do you set specific goals, tangible goals, realistic goals for yourself? Whatever question you have, this is why this platform exists. I have a lot of amazing guests for you, guys and women and men who have just done amazing things beyond myself. People who have done these for years and years and years, and they're still doing it with a smile on their face, and they're still encouraged to do it, right? Despite all the different challenges they've come across. And that's what this platform is, to really highlight people's story, and give people a chance to tell their story, right? And give you the opportunity to relate and learn and from their story and be able to take something away from their story. So tune in. It's going to be on every platform. It's going to be on podcast, YouTube, social media. You know it. We have it. 3G System Fitness website. Love you guys. Thank you for joining me. Peace.
Gotta get it in. Gotta get it out. Go get in. Go get out. It's a 3G System Fitness. Do that, that. Go on. Do that, that. Gotta get it in, gotta get it out. It's a 3D System Fitness. Let's bounce.